Okay, I am back. And as you know from yesterday, I'm going to follow up on how the big meeting went. What matters to you today, even more so, as applying it to your life, is more about two things that I learned. And those two things I'm going to share with you today when you're in the middle of a life shift or making a change or dealing with a life challenge. These are two things that I think are so vital. And this is what I learned from this experience so far. Remember, I'm taking you through the good, the bad, the ugly, the whole journey of it. So it was a beautiful thing that I met with my friend before lunch because I went through, as an interior designer, I went through colors and branding and thoughts, and I went through how I was feeling about who I am, the message that I'm giving, and who it's to and who it's for. And as I mentioned before, it was, should you do it more for men, for everybody? Should you do it more for women? Should you do it for, and going back and forth. And I realized I had to get clear for myself. And that's one of the main things that I learned was two things. One was know your core. I had to spend some time really digging deep and figuring out what is it that I know I am to do? What is my calling? Not just what am I going to share, but what is my calling to share? And I really felt it. The more that I uncovered it, the more I felt on fire. So I could not wait for this meeting. Whereas a couple days before, I was kind of dreading it, like, oh, I don't know what, I don't know what I think and feel. Have you been there where you're kind of confused, you're not quite sure? So after that meeting at lunch with my friend, I went to that meeting and I was on fire. And I swear I'm not trying to wear orange and red, I promise. So this is a little bit more reddish than orange, but I was wearing orange yesterday too. And I went in and I said, hey, do you mind if I grab this marker and the whiteboard? And they're wonderful. They're very connecting and engaging and wanting to figure this out with me as well. And I just went to town on the whiteboard and I went through all these different people I'd researched, what they were offering, how they did it, who was their market, why it worked for them, and then me, what it is that I do and what I feel strongly to share and how that looks and works for me and the colors that I think that went with that and the font that went with that and the logo that went with that and all of those things that came from my soul. And so I'm going to post that with this video and I want your opinion. I'd love for you to weigh in on those things because I want to take you right along with me on this journey if you're interested and get me your feelings and feedback on the colors and the logo and all of this. But I really knew it. Like I knew my core. And when I got done, he said, wow, there is no doubt that you have this passion. And I brought up this thing from Jim Collins, and I don't know if you're aware of, but if you get this book, it's fantastic. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I brought it up and I said, this is how I feel. This is my hedgehog concept. And the hedgehog concept, it has three sort of Venn diagrams. That means, remember, go back to 7th grade geometry, way back. But those three circles, and they kind of meet in one spot, so it makes three little tiny circles. And it has three things that this hedgehog concept needs to have. First, it needs to have a passion, and it's not in order, but it needs to have a passion, something you're passionate about. The second thing is something you think you could be the best in the world at doing. And the third thing is something that you think you could actually monetize so that you can actually live, feed your family, that kind of a thing. So you need those three parts for it to be your hedgehog concept. And that's what we got through yesterday. I said, this is my hedgehog concept. And when I shared what it is that I'm doing and the messages that I'm sharing and who I'm sharing it to, I felt on fire. And I knew that I was to address women and yet involve men because I love good men everywhere. They're wonderful. But I know my calling is to speak to women and families and that kind of helping women be able to create that domino effect in their own family. And because we are such a hub in the family. And I knew that, and I knew it to my soul, and they agreed. So it was a fantastic meeting. The second thing that I've kind of alluded to was to recognize when you need to be your bold self. We don't need to go in and like overwhelm people and bulldoze them and make them feel like they don't have two words that they can say edgewise. But I realized I needed to be my bold self. I had tried to listen and synergize and give some thoughts and opinions, but I hired them. Now, that being said, you don't go in and go, well, I hired them, so you do, watch out. Not like that. That's not why you hire someone. You're hiring them for their expertise that you feel you may not have. So I wanted that expertise, but I felt like I needed to figure out what I was doing as well first and be able to go through and understand what it was that it took for me to understand what it takes for me to do this on a way that resonates for me. Not just, oh, I think I could do this and share my message, but I want it to be energizing, and I want it to be something that I know people are benefiting from, women and families, but that I'm also being rejuvenated by, and that I'm not at the end of the day going, oh, where's my pillow every night? So this was core. So the learning that I had today was know your core, be your bold self. In the next video, I'm going to share what I did to get to that place to know my core. A lot of times I'll say this to women and they'll say, well, that's great and dandy, but I'm so screaming busy with taking kids to places and being chauffeur and helping them with what they're doing and their extracurricular activities, plus trying to run the home, plus trying to get them fed. I don't even know how to get to my core. So in the next video, I'm going to share that with you. So remember, this is all about joining the journey of this metamorphosis. And so think about where you're at in your metamorphosis of your life shift, your life challenge, and what you can do to know your core and be your bold self. And then check out my next one. So stay tuned with Connie.